Sporting Wales podcast.
Supported by DragonBet,
Your go-to for Welsh sports news and views.
Hello and welcome to the Sporting Wales podcast with me, Geraint Hardy, sponsored by DragonBet. Sporting Wales is co-founded by Gareth Anscombe and Alice Cuthbert, and you can find our Sporting Wales magazine in various gyms, leisure centres and other places right across Wales and of course online. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Yeah, and this week in the studio we're joined by Welsh captain, sadly not involved in the Six Nations, the one and only Dewi Lake. Dewi, a warm welcome to you. Great to have you here. You well?
Yeah, all good, thanks. Yes, nice to be here. Didn't know it was here actually, so quite cool to see a studio and come in and stuff. But yeah, all good, all good.
Yeah, we're hidden away in a secret place in Cardiff as well, kind of here. This morning you'll be filming some exciting stuff, some Netflix stuff, yeah?
Yeah, some stuff for the next series of
Full
Contact documentary. So that's been quite fun down coffee shop with Gatom, just doing his daddy daycare, which obviously passes on to me. Because he gets an hour break then, but no, just done some stuff this morning, so that was a good laugh. Yeah.
Did you enjoy that side of kind of the professional game, kind of being in front of the camera and that?
On and off, I think. There's obviously sometimes it's quite nice in there, and then sometimes where you think it's a bit of a burden to have to do this today. It's quite easy when you're injured, isn't it? Because you don't have to think about playing or doing anything like that. But no, it can be 50-50, I think, especially. Sometimes they want it at poor times, isn't it? When you've just lost and they're like, oh, let's ask you about that. And you're like, to be honest, I don't really want to talk about that.
Yeah, that's the last thing I want to talk about.
That's the last thing I want to speak about today. But yeah, no, I don't mind being in front of the camera or chatting and stuff like that. So yeah.
Have you got a go-to answer for like certain questions you don't want to answer, like
no
written
comment.
down? No comment. That's a good one. Please, no comments today, right? We want comments from you today if we can. One question actually that you're probably sick of people asking you, but I know people will want to know. Where are you at with your injury at the moment?
All good actually, pretty good. Starting running Tuesday, so obviously tomorrow for us and you. So start running Tuesday. I think it should be about 3 or 4 weeks running and preparation and stuff like that. Obviously depending on how running goes, get back into training hopefully in a couple of weeks and get some non-contact bits in or some contact bits, and hopefully be back in another 4 weeks or 5 weeks or so.
Yeah, and what are you like with injuries? Because you've had, because you've had a few, haven't you? You missed out on quite a few campaigns and stuff. So
I'm not bad with the injury itself. It's probably more around this time where I start running and I'm like, well, I can run, so let me train. And they're like, well, no, because you're not actually ready to do contact, or I couldn't jackal probably. My hamstring would ping off the bone again.
Yeah.
But I think this is probably the time where I get the worst, just trying to push it quicker and quicker, I think. While you're not running, it's easy in it because well, I can't run, I can't do anything, I'll just chill. But once you get into this bit, you almost feel like you're back and it's ready to go.
Yeah, you're ready to go, the adrenaline going, and then they're pulling you back and training, saying, oh, that's all you can do today, kind of thing, yeah? Because you wanted to carry on when you got injured, didn't you?
Yeah.
In that game, because obviously it was before the Six Nations, the weekend before, when you did your hamstring. So they made you come off, did they?
Yeah, well, I came off originally as a precaution thing, because obviously we had Six Nations the week after, and I was playing 7, so they were like, look, you don't need to do it to play 7, we'll just bring someone off the bench. And I thought, oh, well, it's just like a little click, it'd be fine. I carried on for 5 minutes after it, thought everything was all right, just put ice on it on the side. And yeah, it was a grade 3 hamstring tear and a grade 2 groin tear.
Okay.
So I'd done both at the same time, which I don't know how, because I didn't feel like it. So that weren't great news, obviously, afterwards. But no, it just felt normal.
So you will be putting your hand up to play 7 again, that's for sure, or 6 or whatever.
No, that's not, number's not going on my back again.
So in terms of the Six Nations, sadly you've missed it, and you will be missing the other 2 games that are to come. Have you been watching the games, and where have you been watching them from?
Yeah, been watching the games. So Scotland game I watched in the stadium, in the halfway lounge. Me and Kathy had box walks to do, so we watched in there. England game, I didn't watch the England game actually, I was on a flight to Tenerife, so obviously booked the flight at the wrong time, didn't I? And missed the game, but Captain was giving us updates through the game.
On the plane?
On the plane, yeah. We did ask beforehand, because there was a couple of other Welshies on. So the first update we had was 14-6. We were like, oh, happy days. And then we landed and he told us we'd lost. And I was like, oh, that ruins the holiday already. I've just landed.
Yeah.
And then Island game, there was a couple of the Union or Papa John's run a competition to watch the game in the Principality in the home changing rooms, and they'd done the changing rooms out. So I watched it in there, did a little Q&A with some of the competition winners. Papa John's come down and made pizza, and then we watched the game in there. So that was quite fun actually. It was a bit different. But yeah, it was interesting watching the game with fans and not with the boys you play with or like in the house with your family. So that was a different experience.
Were you more restricted in what you were shouting or kind of saying while watching the match?
Because I don't know how to do it. I can't like stop but it was more how much more involved they were. I think you get to see that side of things, and especially in an enclosed room where there's no one around you, so they were free to say what they want, I guess, or they felt so.
Yeah.
And none of it was bad. But you get more of an insight into the fan side of things, I think.
So when you're watching matches now, is that painful for you? You raring to be on that pitch? Because some players are okay with injuries and they can watch and they're quite calm about it, but some players really miss it.
Yeah, I think it's tough. There's obviously different circumstances, isn't it? If you're injured, I think it's quite tough because it's almost like that opportunity gets taken away from you. Whereas if you're fit and you're just not involved or you're not picked, then it's a bit different because you're still fit and you're able to play and things. But I think at the minute I'm just missing the game probably and missing being out there. So it's tough to then watch, the boys get to do it. But no, I'll still watch and support and wish the best for them. But it is tough, but I do still watch because you can't not watch, can you?
No, you got to watch, I suppose. Even if it's hard, you want to support the boys, don't you? Simple as that, really. How do you analyse the first kind of 3 games so far?
Unlucky, I think, is a word I'd use. I think they've put some really good stuff together. It's just been that final hurdle, hasn't it? Or the Scotland game, probably the first hurdle, the first half. The final hurdle, they got to. The second half was great, but just out of reach. Scotland just put enough on the board to be out of reach. The opposite, obviously, then in the England game, incredible first half. Probably just that final 20 minutes there where allowed England to get back into the game. But I think they controlled that game really well. Cam Winnett was outstanding again. He's been a real gem this Six Nations so far. And again, Ireland, that first half, I think probably more back to the Scotland game, 17-0, but not without our chances to score, in that first half. And then straight out the blocks in the second half, with a penalty try from the driving maul. And again, they put some really good stuff together. I thought the defence stood out in that Ireland game. When you talk about a team attacking prowess such as Ireland, they're probably the best international team on the world stage right now. To be able to put a defensive performance in like that, I thought Gatom was class. I thought Tommy Ref was class again. Alex Mann has been awesome in the jersey so far. And yeah, I think obviously again that Ireland game probably was a lot better, I think, than maybe the scoreboard would suggest.
Adam Beard said, in a few years we're going to have a very, very good team here. I think at the start of the Six Nations, from a fan perspective, we were like, we don't really know how this is going to go, but definitely, you've named 4 or 5 players there. People have put their hands up to say, yes, we can play at this level. And given experience, do you think we will be that very, very good team that Beard mentioned?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you look at, the talent that is in that squad now that is at a very young age, and even Beard himself, he's got 50 caps and he's only, 27, 28. He's still got years in him. So I think it is a group that's young and has a lot of potential. And you look at some core boys they've got in there at the minute. Gareth Davis, Beattie, Thomas Williams being another one. They've got some boys with a lot of experience around them as well, which always helps when you're a youngster coming through or you're playing your first couple of games over your country. They really guide you and help you understand what is needed of you at this level, because it is a step up from from regional rugby. So having those boys there as well will really help and guide the young players in there at the minute. But I think definitely a couple of years time, if the boys in there at the minute keep developing on the rate that they're at, they're gonna be incredible. But I think it's tough as a fan, isn't it, to watch, because you always want to win now, don't you? It's win now and win now. So I think that's always the tough bridge to cross, in it, is watching and thinking, oh yeah, we'll a couple of years this group will be incredible, but you do want a couple of wins now, don't you? From a selfish fan perspective.
Yeah, it's a process though. I think the buy-in's there from the Welsh public and the Welsh fans, that it's a process, I was at an event at the start of the Six Nations and you were talking in it and you said you'd expect 2 wins from the Six Nations from Wales. Obviously, to achieve that aim there, we've got to go and beat France and Italy. Is that something that we can do?
I think so. I think the way France are at the minute, they're probably a bit wounded, obviously without Antamac, without Dupont. I think they may be without Jalabert now as well this week. I think they are, obviously the problem with a wounded animal is they fight back, and that could be coming for us. But I think the boys will be well up for it. It's a chance to play, well, before the World Cup, arguably the best team in the world. You'd have put your odds
incredible,
on France. But I think it's an incredible opportunity. They'll relish the chance to play against them, and we always do well against France. We play a similar game, and I think we got close the last couple of years now against this team, and probably the best opportunity to take them to the sword will be this coming weekend now, and I think the boys will be well up for it.
Where can we hurt them, do you reckon? Where can we get the upper hand against them?
I think the place you have to get the upper hand against them is set piece. Obviously, they're a huge pack. You got, Antonio and Pasolo Tuolagi, if he's playing, they're both 150 kegs. So that's 300 kg there.
Yeah.
So I think if you can get a solid scrum foundation and then, win your lineouts, win your set piece, give your backs a platform to play off, that'll be key, because it's not nice getting marched down the field in mauls or from scrum, is it? And you know what the French are like, they'll go scrum penalty, kick to the corner, maul penalty, kick to the corner, try. Or, it can be as easy as that sometimes, can't it? So I think set piece will be massive. But you know what Sean Edwards is like as well from a defensive point of view. It's going to be, the kicking battle is going to be massive. We saw, if anyone's watched the Full Contact documentary, the clip of him saying, if we're in our own half, kick the ball. He don't say like he
swears a lot.
A few more choice words in there from him. But if they're in their own half, expect them to kick the ball, which means that that kick tennis and that kick battle for Wales is going to be very big this weekend, because that's where France will want to get on top. Sean Edwards is a coach who often says that defending is easier than attacking in the international game. So they're going to make Wales attack, hopefully get a turnover closer to our try line, maybe put the ball in the corner or just take 3 points and keep the ball ticking over. So I think, the more rugby we can play in their half and obviously win that kicking battle, win the set piece, then build a scoreboard and hopefully come out on top.
Yeah, you might not know the answer to this, but do you think Gatland and Sean will be talking to each other before the week? Will they send a cheeky little message to each other?
There might be a bit of banter in it, or the old looking forward to seeing you on a weekend if they haven't caught up in a while or something like that. But no, I think it'd be very much business, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Be very much business, both, Wales looking for their first win, France probably looking for a bounce back after the, lucky draw against Italy.
It's mad
from their point of view. But no, I think, they work together for years and years, and there's bound to be a couple of messages, whether it's banter or it is a nice looking forward to seeing you. But no, I think it'll be a big game.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one, because I think if we beat France, I think we go on to beat Italy, because momentum's so key in sport.
Yeah.
But then sadly, if we didn't beat France, then so much pressure would be on Italy for that wooden spoon game then.
Yeah, and Italy would be fancying themselves.
Yeah.
Last time they came to Cardiff, they got the win over us. Last minute, they've put some good performances together so far, the Six Nations. I know everyone talks about the draw against France that they probably should have got more out of, but they were comfortable in that first half against England on opening weekend. in the lead there for a good amount of time. And some of their attacking rugby they've played has been incredible. Menicello in the centre has been class for them so far. Fischetti at hooker, has really helped them at set piece. Their line-out's been functioning really well. So I think they'll be a tough game to come up against if you do lose again, because you're sort of thinking battle for bottom of the table then, which you never want to be in, of course. But that puts a lot of pressure then on that one game, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course it does. Are you, because you're not involved in camp for the Six Nations, are you still in a WhatsApp group with the current camp, or do they create one per camp?
They make one per camp. Yeah. So, no, not in this.
So you don't know what's going on?
No inside info, no intel from me. No, not a clue what's going on, to be honest, behind closed doors, obviously, which...
Does that make it harder, I suppose, as well for you? Could you feel like not part of the group?
Yeah, I guess, but then it probably makes it easier to do things like this, not knowing, because if you did know and you asked me, I probably wouldn't hide it very well that I did know. No, I think it's important in it that things in camp stay in camp, or that group of boys get to feel like they are that group of boys for that Six Nations, and that you get a new group or a different group, not just that you're added into something, when you feel like you're behind because there's been messages for 20 years in there called Welsh camp or something like that, So I think it's nice for that, new group to be made for that.
Yeah, no outside voices then as well.
Exactly, yeah.
Let's go back to 2020, the first time you were called into camp. You had to wait till 2022 to get your first game. Can you remember how you felt, like the first day of turning up in the Vale and kind of being the newbie in camp?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I remember. I remember ITV putting a picture of a different boy from 20s
right.
on the news saying he'd been called into camp. So that was brilliant, because all the family were like, you look a bit different.
Yeah.
But no, it was Wales versus Barbarians, and was my first one. It was Pivac's first game in charge, and against Gats when he was leaving. So I think there was 4 of us there post our 20s World Cup in Argentina, and that was a bit surreal, obviously being called in. But we didn't realise at the time how different it was, because it was a Barbars week, and they run a bit different to a Six Nations camp or to a test match week. It's a bit more fun. It's a bit more chilled out. But walking around camp and seeing Alan Wynne and Biggs, boys you've grown up watching, and you're a bit like, Jesus Christ, I'm training with them here. But then coming back in for Six Nations, I think, was the bigger shock, because it was like, hang on, we're not warming up playing football here, or
right, yeah,
or like there's no laughing and joking. It's a much more serious affair. There was obviously a lot more meetings, and days were a lot longer and things like that, which was a change again. Like even the Barbars week was a step up from regional rugby, as we've mentioned, but that Six Nations camp was a step up again from the Barbars week, just how different it was run. And because I guess you only get a week together, that Barbarians week, to get things going, so there's not much emphasis on certain things, because you just need to work quick and learn quick. But when you get into a Six Nations camp and you've got 8 weeks together, and that first week there's no game on the weekend, so you might take your time a lot more on certain things, or there'd be a lot more meetings discussing what your goals are, what you want to do, what you want to get out of things. But no, the feeling of going into camp for first time, picking your kit up and meeting all the boys was incredible. Yeah.
So do you have to go to a designated place to pick it up?
Yeah. So everyone's kit sits in the barn, up against the wall, and you go in and you pick your kit up. But there was 3 DLs at the time in camp, so I was walking around thinking, which one's mine? Hang on. You had Dylan Lewis, Dan Lydiard, and then me. So I was like, I don't know which one's mine. I don't know what to take.
Were you there first as well?
I think I was, because it would have been those, come in at 8:30 to pick your kit up, and I was probably there 7 a.m. thinking I don't want to be late, But I just went there to the kit man and said, look, which one's mine? He went, well, if you look, your middle name is there. And I was like, that makes sense. That does make sense.
It's first day nerves, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't know the crack. Didn't want to take, Lids' kit and then be like, you took my kit.
Yeah, smashing
That's something I wanted to avoid on the first day.
yeah. You mentioned there, like, talking about goals and stuff, what you want to achieve in camp. Who leads that conversation?
So I guess it'd probably be introduced by Gats. We stand up at the front and go, look, gonna talk about our goals, have a think about your goals. But then, you may split into groups. It may be like there may be a forwards group goal or like a backs group goal, or the front row will have goal. Like, you might meet as a front row and go, right, what are our goals as a front row? What do we want? Scrum time or around the field from us as a group, because you obviously get seen a lot as front row, back five. Something like that. Or it could be individual. It obviously depends how they run it, and what they what they want to do with it. And often a lot it'd be introduced by Gats, but I guess it's player led and self led about your personal goals or your group goals or something like that.
Do you set goals for yourself every season anyway, regardless, as an individual?
On and off, because I think sometimes it's obviously very good to set goals, but then sometimes you can get very hung up
on that one thing,
on achieving them and that one thing. And I think it's good to set probably smaller goals and they work towards a bigger goal rather than right, I want this by the end of the year or this by the end of the season, because then you kind of don't have any steps to reach that final goal. You're just like, right, I haven't got there yet. I need to chase that. I just need to chase that.
Yeah.
So I think obviously it's a lot easier when you've got games every week and you can think, right, what do I want from this game? What do I need to do in this game? Something like that. But if you just pin a big goal up there, like, we want to win the Six Nations, and it's like, well, how would you actually get to that? What have you got to do this week and next week, and then there's a fallow week, a week off? What have you got to do in that week where there's no game at the end of the week for you to be like, right, let's do this in the week to get that target on the weekend?
So you break it down into bits, basically, chunks so you can achieve slowly.
I think it's good to do. Like, one of mine would be, right, throw in, probably biggest work on in my game, but all hookers will continue to throw. It's something you've got to constantly work on.
Yeah.
And I know if I work on my throw-in, that gets better, the line-out will automatically get better because of that. So that like goes hand in hand with things. And then if your line-out gets better, you start getting looked at more for, international honours or things like that. So I think it all does go hand in hand, but you can't just go straight to the big fish.
Yeah, no, that's good. It's good advice for anyone listening, really, but anything in life. Do you practice throwing in the garden?
No.
No, you don't?
No, my garden wouldn't work for it. I think it's a bit different as well, when you throw on your own or when you throw, like when I'm injured now, I'll have Jack Morgan in my ear, hurling abuse at me as I throw.
Yeah.
Because he loves doing it. It's a bit of fun for him. But also, when you do go to pitches and the crowd are behind you and they're shouting, it is a bit of white noise. You've kind of block out and focus on throwing. So, he gets a kick out of it, but it probably is
helping you,
quite helpful for me too.
Yeah.
But I think no, I wouldn't throw on my own in the garden. I haven't got anything as tall as Beardy in my garden to try and aim for.
Next door neighbour's tree. Get my ball back.
No, probably mostly obviously when we're in camp or down the Ospreys, get someone up on the ladder and throw to them, or the throwing pole.
Yeah.
Do a few throws to that. But obviously when you're injured it's a bit slower.
Yeah. Speaking of goals, was a goal of yours to captain Wales one day? Had you thought about it?
Probably not really until I got chosen to captain the 20s. And you do that and you think like, oh, this is quite fun to do actually, or I quite enjoy it. And then you think, oh, I'd obviously love to do it for Wales one day, for the senior team. But it's never really, I guess that isn't something you can work on, is it, or work towards? That's just something you get selected for. It's I don't know, I guess you can't
practice for it.
Yeah, you can't practice for it, can you? You can't make yourself better, or you can make yourself a better leader, I guess, and things like that. But even then, it's sometimes a natural thing, innit? Or like we spoke about earlier, position on the field or something like that. So I guess it would be a goal. Obviously, it's a dream to be able to do it, but it's tough to work for, I think.
Yeah. No, I get that. What do you remember about kind of finding out that you're going to be co-captain with Jack? Because you're so young. Like, were you 24 at the time?
20
or 23?
I've been just turned 24, I think. Yeah.
It's mad, isn't it? It is mad.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So I obviously just got injured in
2023
warm-up games against England.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
So I think I was only a week or 2 weeks post-injury. So I obviously woke up, it was 8 a.m, and I'm looking at my phone, it's a phone call from Gats, and it's the day of team selection. So I'm thinking this is
squad selection.
Yeah, okay. For the World Cup. So I'm thinking this, obviously I'm out injured. They've told me it's 12 weeks, but that I wouldn't need an op. But I was feeling good myself. And I thought, this is a bad news phone call. Like 8 a.m, usually they tell boys they're not in the squad before the squad announcement. So I thought, I'm not going to answer. I'm just going to let it ring. So I did let it ring 3 or 4 times, thinking I don't want to pick it up because he's dropping me and he's going to say, sorry, you're injured. Look, we just can't carry you if you're not going to be fit. Answered the phone. He's asked me to be co-captain with Jack. And I'm just sort of thinking, that took a bit of a turn. I thought he was about to drop me. But yeah, no, it was sort of one of those that you don't really know what to say on the phone. It's like, oh, will you be co-captain with Jack? Like, yeah, thanks. I was like, all right, can you get down to the Vale, for media and stuff? I was like, yeah, I'll get ready and be down there now.
Literally straight away.
Yeah, well, I think media was starting at 10 or half 10. Because I can't remember what time squad announcement was. Must have been about 12, was it? Or,
yeah, but it's like the same day. You've got to get dressed and go, basically.
Straight on the media, straight after squad announcements. We were down there because we had a bit of like a briefing and stuff like that. And me and Jack were just looking at each other like, what's going on? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Because really, you have 2 captains together as well. And, we were very good mates, both captain the 20s, and we just were like, this is a bit surreal. Like, that it's either of us, but not that it's both of us together. Like, what are the odds of that? That's wild. But yeah, obviously an incredible phone call to receive, but you never know how to answer it sometimes, because it's just a yes, isn't it? You can't really.
And you're in shock as well, I suppose, because if you're thinking he's going to tell me I'm dropped to being captain, it's a complete 360 situation, isn't it, really? Did you have time to speak to Jack at all between kind of getting to the press call? Because obviously the press are going to say, how's it going to work as co-captains? Yeah. And you guys have literally just found out.
Yeah. We obviously had a little time before we got into the press when we got down to the Vale, but I hadn't spoken to him before seeing him at the Vale, because I guess one part of me was like, I don't know who Gats has rung first, so I don't want to ring him and be like, we're co-captains, and he's like, what are you on about? Yeah. Like,
spoil the moment.
Yeah, a bit of a ruin it for him. So we didn't speak to each other before we got to the Vale. Maybe I think there might have been a text like, are you even gonna get there? Because he is obviously coming from a lot further away from me.
Yeah.
I'm only 25 minutes away. He's in Bryn Aman. It's about an hour for him.
Yeah.
And if he gets caught in a bit of traffic, I think luckily enough it was a Monday at 10:30, so everyone was in work and he could just whiz through. But no, we didn't speak until we got there. And then when we got there, it was a bit of like, what do we talk about? Because I think both of us almost tried to avoid going like, we're captains. What are we doing here? Like, why is it us?
Yeah.
So we just spoke about other stuff like, how's your weekend? All good. But no, it was all fine. Like, we did a couple of bits with S4C and then obviously the media after. And I think, me and Jack have worked together quite well in scenarios like that before that. So we kind of knew what we were doing. Just had to try and keep composed and not sweat in front of all the cameras at the time.
And at what point did you ring? Was it your mum you tried to ring and she was in Magaluf?
No, I tried to ring my mum to tell her, and she was in Magaluf with my sister. They're on the strip. So mum found out in the evening then, I think. And they're obviously over the moon. They've worked hard for it as well. Cause, your parents take you everywhere. Drive you around at stupid hours in the morning, especially when you're young and in academies and trainings at 6 a.m. or have you. So obviously they were over the moon, but they didn't really know how to react either, I guess, because it's just not news that you're expecting to hear, is it? Or that you ever prepared to hear. So yeah, they were a bit shocked and didn't know how to react. They were like, oh, was it all right? I was like, yeah, it was just a phone call. But no, they were obviously happy, so.
Yeah, fantastic. How do you reflect on the World Cup now then? It's had kind of time to settle properly. Because opportunity missed potentially still in your head?
Yeah. And yeah, definitely. I think it'd be weird if it wasn't as well. Just because that Argentina game, we were in such control, 13 points up at one point to lose it. But I credit to Argentina. They played great rugby in that second half. They were a different team. I do think losing Jaco Piper was tough. It probably did change the dynamic of the game a bit, change a referee, and things like that. But no, it does definitely still feel like opportunity missed. You give yourself an opportunity in the semi-finals then, don't you? Which would have been huge to get to the semi-finals anyway. But the other part of me is like, well, I don't think people expect us to get out the group. Unless you are a Welsh fan and you support Welsh rugby, a lot of people didn't expect us to get out that group with Australia and Fiji. And I don't think many people would have said that we would go 4 from 4 in the group stage and probably end up being favourites going into the quarterfinal. So it does feel like we did well and we did more than people would thought we would do. But actually we should have done more again, because that quarterfinal was ours to lose at one point, 13 points up. And, Thomas even scored again and put us back in the lead, and then, they run away with it in the end. But it does feel like opportunity missed, yeah.
Are you one to kind of harbour that disappointment and remember it and use it to motivate you in future?
I think it's again 50-50, because you want to do that, but sometimes you have just got to let it go as well, because otherwise it'll take over, and you'll sort of forget what you have done. Again, like what we did do in our World Cup was special. 4 from 4, beat us. Well, it's the biggest win against Australia of a Welsh side. Beat Fiji, beat Portugal, beat Georgia just after losing to Georgia in the autumns. But again, it's that one result that overshadows everything, isn't it? So no, I think it is good to keep on to things and obviously use them as a positive, but sometimes you have also got to let it go a bit as well, because as we know in sport, there's always the next thing to do, or there's always the next game, and if you keep hold of that like one loss or one result, then it can kind of take over your other results as well. Yeah, you got to move on, I suppose. Yeah. Gatland's good at doing that. He's kind of comes across as such a straight talker. Yeah, you see that in Full Contact, where kind of Bigger gets dropped, and he says something on the lines of, if I see any of you moping about, that will piss me off. I expect you to bounce back. Which do you know what I mean? He spells it straight out to the players. Is that one of his strengths? Do you think that there's no grey areas with him? Yeah, I think it's obviously important to know what someone wants from you, especially a coach. What are they looking for? What do they want you to do in order to give yourself an opportunity to get picked, or to be, reselected if you've been dropped, especially if you've been dropped, right, what do I not need to do? What does Gats or any coach want to see from me to give myself a chance to get back in that team? So yeah, I think it's obviously good for the players to know where he stands and where they stand, and sometimes you do just need a reminder that don't mope around, because it is not a nice feeling, is it, getting dropped for anyone really, or not getting selected. But I think sometimes that reminder that you are part of a team actually, and the guy stepping into your place you've been training with possibly for years, and he probably deserves his opportunity as well. So don't mope around and kind of make it your thing. Still help the team out and get us ready for the game on the weekend. But I know Biggs is not one to mope around anyway. He'd do anything he could to help whoever was filling his place, or to help the team out. But it's obviously very good to know where you stand and what a coach wants from you, I guess, and that's why it's nice to have someone who's quite direct.
Yeah, I quite enjoyed his directness recently in the comments about the restructure around Welsh rugby, and then he just fronted up in the press conference, because he hasn't been doing them, has he?
Yeah.
And then he just turned up on Thursday, wherever it was, and was like, "Yeah, what do you want to ask me?" He just said to quite simply, "I'll address these questions."
Yeah.
What would you like to see happen, kind of in the future of Welsh rugby when the restructure is kind of put in place?
I don't know, it's tough, isn't it? Because there's obviously so many routes you could go down, whether you keep 4 regions, whether you go to 3 or 2 or what have you. I think the main thing I want to see, really, however it happens, is just that it thrives, that Welsh rugby thrives, because nobody likes to see all of this going on, with Welsh rugby at the minute, or being involved in it. And, you think back to some of the previous days where the Ospreys were winning the Pro 12 and winning Europe. Cardiff have won Europe recently. Scarlets won the Pro 14 at the time, or was it still Pro 12?
12, I think, yeah.
And now we're sort of, the thing where we're happy with losing bonus points, or with, wins on the road. And you'd think, it used to be you'd be gutted with losing to Leinster, or with not making finals of Pro 12s or European competitions. So I think, wherever it goes and wherever we get to, it has to be that Welsh rugby thrives again, and that, we start competing and genuinely being, a threat in world rugby, in club competitions and things again. Yeah.
Is the 25 cap rule something that you guys as players, as groups, talk about, or you don't talk about it? Is that something that needs to maybe go?
I guess sometimes it comes up, but it's not usually like a topic of conversation, I guess. I think it's more in place for time served in Welsh rugby, in it that, you don't come through an academy where coaches put a lot of time into you and then sort of leave without,
giving it
back to that club or something like that. So maybe it's something you could do over time served to a club, or, if you came through an academy but you played in Welsh rugby in a Welsh region for a certain amount of years or a certain amount of games or something like that, rather than, an international cap rule, I guess, because, some boys never get the opportunity to get a singular cap, let alone 25. You look at Turnbull, he's not got 25 caps, but he's got 250 URC appearances or something like that. And are you going to say that he hasn't got time served in Welsh rugby? The bloke's been an outstanding servant to Welsh rugby and to Cardiff and Scarlets and his regions. Yet he wouldn't be eligible for Wales if he was to move and play elsewhere. But he served his time to Welsh rugby. He's been class for Welsh rugby. So I think, it's probably the cap thing that is the tough thing to get past in it, because you understand, wanting to have people give back to their club or their region if academies put the time into them and things like that. But then I guess it stops a lot of opportunity as well, doesn't it? Like for boys to play elsewhere in France, in Japan, in England, but sometimes also hinders the national team, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because you'd think as a national team you'd want best players all time, and sometimes they're not available to you because of a rule you've got in place. That means they're not eligible for it.
Yeah, interesting times, and I think you'll be involved in it all somewhere, Dewi, along the way. We're going to get James Lovell in now to talk about the weekend's kind of matches. Are you a football fan as well?
Yeah, football fan, yeah.
Who's your team?
West Ham, I am.
West Ham. Okay,
fan.
Why West Ham?
The first football match I went to watch was West Ham against Cardiff on the Ninian, and obviously I went there as a supporting Cardiff.
Yeah,
but Kevin Nolan really stuck with me. He was very active on the field, more not in terms of football, but more with the fans. He'd get a couple of middle fingers. He'd be shouting at the Cardiff fans.
Yeah.
I was only young with my dad when he took me, and I thought, I'd quite like him. So I more started following him than West Ham, but he never moved.
Yeah.
So over the years, just become a West Ham fan, and now, still a West Ham fan now.
And you're blowing bubbles before every game. Yeah. Amazing. That's right. I didn't expect you to say that. I got to be honest with you. Okay, let's focus then on the football and rugby that's to come. Let's do that. Let's get James Lovell in from Dragons Bet.
Dragon Bet, the bookmaker of Wales with the best odds on Welsh sport. Please gamble responsibly.
James Lovell, welcome to the pod and face-to-face for the first time ever.
I know,
not on a Zoom call. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I'm not an AI-generated image. I'm real.
Yeah, you are. And it's your birthday as well, so happy birthday.
Thank you. Cheers.
How old today, or you're not saying?
40, but I don't look a day over 39, I think.
No, you look good. Yeah, he looks good, doesn't he, Dow?
It does. I wouldn't say you're older than me.
And he's 24.
Tough paper round in the valley.
Okay, let's go straight to the odds then. Let's start with the Six Nations, because Dewi's in, and that's probably the main focus of Welsh sport. How are we looking for Wales versus France?
So Wales we're going to go top price. We always do. We're going 5-2 Wales to beat France. So that's, in percentage terms, about a 38% chance of winning.
Okay.
So what do you think?
I mean, I fancy Wales to win on the weekend.
Do you really? Yeah.
I just think we need it more than France, potentially. And France, they grumble from time to time. I think the fans will be... is the fans a factor for you, the players?
I think playing at home is definitely a factor.
Okay.
Having the crowd behind you in the Principality is a lot of boost sometimes, especially against a team like France that will be a momentum team and probably have lost their momentum at the minute.
Yeah.
If you're playing in France, their crowd might generate some momentum for them, but being here might change things.
Yeah, and you were in the Wales-Scotland game. That's the loudest I've heard that stadium in a long, long time. And I just think the Welsh fans really are behind this young team.
There's belief. I can't believe everyone was writing off Wales at the start of the tournament, but the money from every week has been huge. So I kind of normally get the sentimental money, but people have really, really been putting their money behind Wales all tournament. And the 3 games they've lost, although they've lost 3 games, they've beaten the handicap every time, so they've actually performed better than the betting markets have thought. So for the France game, there's 6 points handicap, so they're expected to lose by 6 points. But they were expected to lose by about 4 against Scotland. What was it against? I can't remember what it was against England, but they beat that again. So although they're losing, they're performing better than the markets suggest.
Yeah, there you go. That's good. Okay, any specials for that game then?
Yeah, we're going to have specials. So we got general Six Nations specials. We'll have all the player specials. I think you've got your charity bet coming up, haven't you? We'll save that. So we'll have all the specials, most turnovers, most carries and all the rest of it. But we've got Wales at 2-1 to score 100 points or more in the tournaments. They're currently on 40. So whether they get the other 60 against Italy and France is a bit of a question.
It's a long stretch, that, I think.
Against Italy, that's the game, isn't it? They could score any amount against Italy. So it was really popular. It started off at 5-1, so they're performing better than we thought. So yeah, so 100-1. They're 5-2 to finish bottom for all the naysayers. Okay. I don't think they're going to finish bottom. Or they're 11-4 to win the next 2 games. They're 5-2 to beat France, or 11-4 to win the next 2 games, France and Italy.
Okay. 60 points in the next 2 games there. What do you reckon about that?
I don't know. It all depends, doesn't it? Because Italy haven't really conceded a lot of points this tournament, whereas maybe in previous years they've conceded some points, in games. They've not conceded much, and only 17 points against France, who you'd consider, a team to put points on them. Obviously, Ireland was a different story, but 60 points is quite a bit over 2 games, isn't it? You're talking 30 points a game there.
When you're playing, do you think about the points? Because being a bettor, normally bet on the handicaps on rugby. There's nothing worse when the team are 9 points up, you need them to beat 12 to get the handicap. Are you kind of just happy to win the game, or is it always trying to maximise points?
I think the only time points really comes into it is if you need a bonus point, or say you're on 3 tries, you need a 4th, then you might turn down the posts and go for the corner. If it's going to change where you sit in the table, or if you get top or bottom or something like that, then obviously that makes a difference. But I think first and foremost is always winning the game. And if
the bonus points,
if 3 points is going to win you the game, you take 3 points. If you don't need any points, then tap the ball and boot it off.
So in short, he's not thinking about your bank balance when he's playing rugby.
Very selfish, isn't it? Very selfish. You'd be thinking about my bet, not you.
Okay. What about Italy and Scotland and England versus Ireland?
So England, you can get 12.5 points start. I don't know. I don't think England are very good this year at all. What do you think?
I don't think they're beating Ireland, do they, Dow?
I don't think so, but you can never... I guess you can never write them off, can you?
No.
Sometimes.
12.5 points isn't a lot, though, is it? I think they'll need more than 12 points. I don't think they're going to finish.
Ireland have been so good and so clinical, and just, I don't know. Twickenham's a tough place to go, though, Dale. Yeah. But if we're looking at form, Ireland's James should. I think you'd be right with that. Should win.
Yeah. So they're like 1-6 to win the match, or you could bet England straight at 4-1.
Okay. Italy, Scotland. How do you see that one?
Italy, Scotland are very short odds, as you'd expect, 1-5, or you can bet Scotland minus 12 points. Italy seem like a bit of an unknown, don't they? If you asked at the start of the tournament, Scotland minus 12 points against Italy, you think that's a great bet, wouldn't you? But just don't know what team Italy are going to...
I really fancy Italy for this. I think they'll build on the France draw. Do you know what I mean? Dow, who would you fancy for that one?
Still Scotland.
Yeah?
Still Scotland. I think Finn Russell's too strong.
Okay.
Runs a game, doesn't he? Runs a game. I think if they give him too much time and space, he'll pick them apart.
Here we go. He knows his stuff.
Who's the player you most respect? Or, Finn Russell, or who do you think is the most talented player at the moment?
Most talented player at the minute. Do you know what? I think Jack Crawley is incredible at the minute for Ireland. And although he plays my position, Dan Sheehan's untouchable at the minute, and
Yeah.
His set piece is spot on. He's class around the park. But yeah, Finn Russell's just naturally gifted, isn't he? Yeah, naturally gifted. Class.
He's got the swag as well, which I love.
He does. He carries it well.
When he was warming up, kicking before the Wales-Scotland game, and I was stood pitch side, and he was literally dancing to the PA music and just slotting his kicks over. Do you know what I mean? And you're just like... He's just got that belief in himself, isn't he? Which is kind of box office a little bit, which is nice to see. Okay, any more rugbies before we move on to football?
No, we got all the Premiership and the Championship on the site as normal. So I was just asking Dewi what he thinks is Bridgend against Neath this weekend. Big game, so we're giving Neath 10-point start, but he said Bridgend are going to smash him by more than 10 points.
He's a Bridgend boy.
I know, you played for both of them. You played for both, didn't you?
Played for both, yeah. Aberaffon's the only team I've not played for in Swansea,
really?
In Swansea region, yeah.
Wow. They're going well as well, Aberafon, aren't they?
Yeah. Always do, don't they?
So Bridgend win in that one though, yeah?
On the brewery, I think so, yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, let's switch to football then, because it's quite a busy week. So we've got Cardiff, Huddersfield, Watford, Swansea midweek. How are you seeing them wins?
So Cardiff are 11-8 to beat Huddersfield, and Swansea are 21-10, so just over 2-1 to beat Watford.
Okay, fine. And let's push on for the Saturday games then. So we've got Bristol City on Sunday, actually, versus Swansea. Cardiff, Ipswich, early kick-off on Saturday. League 2, Morecambe versus Wrexham, Stockport, Newport. Run us through the odds on them.
So Cardiff are 3-1 to beat Ipswich, but you mentioned earlier we're going to have to put a Kiefer Moore special up
You've
there.
Got to.
Yeah,
You've got to.
Convinced he's going to score in you.
Well, you could do 2 Welshies to score. I mean, I want Cardiff to win, obviously, but you could Broadhead and Kiefer to score for like the hungry betters like me who want to go chase the odds. Do you know what I mean? But a past player, whenever they come back to a football team in particular, they always seem to blink and score. Yeah, so you've got to put a Kiefer special on.
Yeah, so we'll have a Kiefer special on. Swansea, like I say, just over 2-1 beat Bristol City. Wrexham at evens to beat Morecambe. Expect they'll do it like I normally do. And Newport are 4-1 to beat Stockport, which is a real, real tough game, isn't it?
Yeah.
But last week we had a bit of a kick in. We put up a double, didn't we? I think we had Mullin and Will Evans to score at 7-1.
Yeah.
They both scored. So this week we're going to go Jamie Patterson to follow his goal against Swansea at 7-2.
Yeah.
Kieran Atete is 3-1 to score for Cardiff against Huddersfield, and 20-1 for both of them to score.
Okay. That's an interesting double. Swansea, by the way, looking good now. I think Luke Williams' effect is getting into them. They've got some old-fashioned wingers down the side. So,
It just seems to have started to click, don't they, Swansea?
Yeah, watch out, I think, there. Out the Welsh teams, have you got a favourite team, Dewi, or you're not allowed to say? Or do you not want to say?
If you went to watch Cardiff and ended up supporting West Ham.
I was always a Cardiff fan over a Swansea fan, though.
Yeah.
Always, yeah. I think, because where I'm from, Ogmore Vale is right on the border of the Cardiff region, Swansea region, but because my dad used to play for Treorchy, we were always Cardiff side more. And I loved Martin Williams growing up, so I'd always support Cardiff rugby, so I just, latched on to Cardiff football as well.
Yeah.
And I prefer the word Bluebirds over Jacks.
Fair enough.
I guess that's kind of changed over the years. Now we play out at Swansea.com and bump into the Swansea boys sometimes, and it's like, can't really broach a subject. I prefer Cardiff City.
It's official. Dewi Lake's a Bluebirds. Fantastic. Okay, are we doing Game of the Week this week, or just on the website for you?
So I was in Edinburgh this weekend, so we're a bit behind, so I haven't actually got a Game of the Week. But what we'll do this week is ask anyone if they got a local team or a local derby and they want us to get odds up on it. So if anyone wants a local team want us to price up the odds, it'll be low limits, obviously. But we'll put on some bets for you. So if you've got a local derby, your team's playing someone you want to get stuck into and you want to have a bet on them, send a message through Sporting socials and we'll price it up.
Fantastic stuff. Now we do a charity bet every single week, Dewi. So we have a bet, right?
Yeah.
So I know you can't do rugby, but you can do other sports. But I'm going to go for my charity bet being a rugby one. So I'm going Tommy Reffel, most tackles against France. So out of all the players.
He had that last 2 games, didn't he?
Yeah, and I wanted to back it the other week, but I didn't follow my kind of brain.
Could have, yeah. Always you go.
I went for a hungry one.
He's 3-1. 3-1 to be top tackler.
And you're boosting that to what?
Go on, I'll boost it to 4-1. Just put him here in person, 4-1. He's winning it every week, isn't he? I think he was 7-2 the 2 weeks before we tipped him. He had the most tackles there. So the other good bet, I don't know what the odds are yet, but can win it most metres.
Okay,
that's always popular, and you're always going to have a thrill bet in that.
Yeah, them two been class, and they've done really, really well in the Six Nations.
They have. They've been awesome. I think Tommy obviously has been pivotal in that back row, hasn't he? Turnovers. Cut a couple of really good lines against England and was class again against Ireland. But Cameronet's been a gem of a find, hasn't he? I think fullback was a position most people were probably worried about losing Lee Halfpenny and Sanj. But he's sort of slotted into that role as if he's been there for ages, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's done so well.
He's just a really exciting player, and he can win it. It's nice to have a really exciting Welsh player back on the field. And did you know he's as good as he is? Did he catch you by surprise?
Yeah, well, obviously he's not been on my radar really, and he's played a couple of games for Cardiff this year, hasn't he? And but never really seen him play or seen what he can do, seen him in space. But you heard from a couple of boys obviously through the start of camp that his footwork had been immense and that he was training really well. And then obviously you see the last 3 games that he's played, and he sort of just burst onto the scene, hasn't he?
Yeah, great
Talking
to see.
Training really well. LRZ is meant to be smashing it. He's absolutely smashing it.
Zamet. Yeah, what's your thoughts on? Have you kind of been in touch with Zamet, or he's just busy training?
Give him a text and said, good luck and wish you all the best and stuff. But who wouldn't go for follow their dream? And tough to turn down an opportunity like that, isn't it? And like you said, it's his dream, and you'd never say don't follow your dreams, would you? Yeah,
I think he's got a date for his trial at the end of this month.
Well, I know he's doing well because people keep coming on asking for odds and stuff, so that's normally a sign that someone knows he must be performing well, because they're all asking, what specials have you got for...
Okay, so the specials on him making the NFL, yeah?
Yeah, we'll have them all up again. I can't remember. We had them up, we'll take them down, we'll reassess. But yeah, we'll get them back up this week.
Okay, quickly before we forget, Dewi, what's your charity bet going to be? Where are you going to go with it?
I'm going to go in the Cardiff game, and I'm going to go Coost has to be carded.
Coost has to be carded, okay.
Carded.
That means that you steady your form. That's a good bet. That
no, he likes a card, and I think at home against Huddersfield,
physical game.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's 3-1 on the site at the moment. We'll push it up to 4-1 as
yes, what a guy. James Lovell, thanks for coming in, doing the Dragons Bet and all the odds for us once again. Remember, wherever you're listening from, remember Dragon Bet is the place to go for your betting, the only place for Welsh sporting fans to bet. So get involved with the bookies that look after Welsh sport, but of course, please gamble responsibly. There we go, guys, we're done. James, thank you. We've got a Cheltenham special coming up, so you're going to be sticking around to record another one of them. But Dewi, thanks for your time, mate. Thanks for talking so honestly to us, and all the best with the hamstring and everything in the future.
No worries. Cheers. Thank you for having me.
No, fantastic stuff. Okay, remember, we'll be back next Monday for more Sporting Wales chat, and you can follow us on all our socials. Tell your friends about us and share the love. We'll catch you next week. Wherever you go, wherever you are, enjoy your Sporting Wales week.
Sporting Wales podcast.
Supported by Dragon Bet.
Your go-to for Welsh sports news and views.